I'm feeling very 90s right now with this hairstyle and I'm loving it. So cute. Hello my fellow gods and goddesses, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and today we will be doing my January wrap up. So this is my first wrap up on my channel. I wanted to do something a little different with my wrap ups. So I, like all normal human beings, love music, and to add on to that, I really love making playlists. I was thinking about how I could maybe like change up my monthly wrap-ups. I was like, what if I make a playlist for all the books I read? So that's what I did. I read 10 books this month. I don't have 10 playlists because some books I just didn't really feel like it. I'm not gonna have like a rhyme or reason. Sometimes maybe I'll have all playlists for all the books I read. Sometimes I'll only have a few. It's kind of just gonna be how I feel. I'm really proud of all of the playlists that I put together. Each playlist only has like 10 songs, so it's real simple, and I tried to capture the vibe as much as I could with the book, and so I really hope you guys enjoy the playlist. First book I read this month was Searcy by Madeline Miller. I actually finished this on January 1st. So Searcy by Madeline Miller is about Searcy. She is the goddess of sorcery, and it basically follows her life story from her birth all the way towards the rest of her life. As a person who knows a lot about Searcy and has read a lot about Searcy, I feel like I didn't enjoy it as much as someone who would go in with as little knowledge as possible. Really like Miller's portrayal of her. In my opinion, it's my opinion! Her portrayal was kind of weak, kind of just didn't encompass like the badassery of Searcy, and I just wasn't a fan. The pacing was also pretty not that great in my opinion. I still very much enjoyed it. I gave it a 3.75 out of 5 stars because I really enjoyed like the first half of the book. It was just the last half that really didn't stick with me. And I know a lot of people on BookTube really love this book. I know Rhiannon, this is like one of her favorite books of all time, and I understand why people love it so much. I just personally had too much knowledge going into it to fully enjoy it. Searcy's playlist is very indie, very lots of Florence and the Machine, some Hoser, some Lana Del Rey vibe. So that kind of vibe, that's kind of the playlist that I arranged for Searcy. I made a joke that I was just gonna add like all Florence and the Machine songs, but I tried to give some variety to it, but there are quite a few of them on that playlist. The next book I read in the month of January is another one by Madeline Miller, and that is Song of Achilles. And if you cannot tell by my gushing, I absolutely adored this book so much. It was a 5 out of 5 star read for me. It takes a lot for a book to be a 5-star read for me, and this one is one of them. So Song of Achilles is a retelling of the Trojan War, and I say that lightly because go into this book thinking it's going to be action-packed and focus on the war itself, you will be disappointed. That is not what this book is about. This book is about bringing to light the relationship between Achilles and Patroclus. Throughout history, classical scholars and historians have looked over their relationship and interpreted it as a friendship, as a brotherhood. But what Madeline Miller wanted to do was bring to light, no, they were lovers, they were in a relationship, they adored each other. Of course, these are fictional characters and we can't know for sure, but based on the myths, she wanted to reinterpret the Iliad as a romance between Achilles and Patroclus. I really enjoyed seeing the story of the Iliad and his relationship with Achilles told through Patroclus's perspective. I cried in this book, and again, I rarely ever cry in books. I do not cry. I am very emotionally detached, but like this book just, oh my gosh, like the last page in this book is one of the best conclusions ever. Like, oh, so good. And then the name a hero who was happy. Oh my god.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh, that line just kills me. If you haven't read this book, please, please, please pick it up. It's gay, it's sad, it's beautiful, it's lovely, it's Greek. It's just so perfect. I just adore it so much. If you didn't cry reading that book, you're gonna cry listening to the playlist. I don't know why I did that to myself, but it had to be done. The next two books I read were graphic novels, and that is Ladykiller Volume 1 and 2 by Jamie S. Rich and Joelle Jones. This graphic novel was absolutely stunning. Ladykiller I would describe as Dexter meets Mad Men. This main character named Josie, and she is a typical 50s housewife, but she has a secret, and that secret is she kills people. I thought it was very much entertaining. It's definitely a slower pace, like you don't really get much with it. I hate to even recommend you picking this up because I'm pretty sure it's being written anymore. I looked up a ton of stuff like, oh, where's like volume 3 question mark, and nobody really knows. I mean, if you still want to pick it up, it's just a graphic novel, so it's really quick. I would read it just for like the art style, honestly. I do have a playlist for Ladykiller regardless, just because the aesthetics of it were just too good to not create it, and mixed in some old classic songs, some femme fatale kind of vibes to it, so make sure to check it out if you're interested. So the next book I read in the month of January was Thunderhead by Neal Shusterman, and if you saw my first reading vlog, you saw my reaction to the ending of this book. Oh my god, was I shooketh. So Thunderhead, if you don't know, is the sequel to Scythe. Scythe takes place in a world where we have conquered death, and there are these people called Scythes who are assigned to glean people, aka kill them, in order to maintain the population. And we follow two apprentices as they try to learn to become scythes themselves. If you love philosophical debates and concepts, oh my lord, you need to pick this book up because the world is just completely genius. Neal Shusterman, I want to attend a lecture of Neal Shusterman just like spouting ideas of the future on what he thinks is going to happen, because that man's mind is just unbelievable. Actually did not enjoy this book like the first half. I mean, I enjoyed it. It was just very slow for me, and I was like, I'm not gonna enjoy it as much as Scythe. However, the ending, like the last 200 pages, like I cannot describe how mind fucked I was after reading those 200 pages. Like, wow. Thunderhead I gave 4 out of 5 stars, and for the playlist for this one, it is very, very cinematic. I highly recommend you like working out to this playlist because it feels like you're in like an action movie, and that's the kind of vibe I wanted to go with. The next book I read was another graphic novel, and that was American Vampire Volume 1 by Scott Snyder and Stephen King. This one was so good. It's a horror graphic novel set in dual time periods. One is in like the Old West, and then the other is 1920s. Follow a girl who is in Hollywood. She is a she wants to become an up-and-coming actress. However, she attends this party and something happens which turns her life upside down. And then we also follow this kind of ragtag group of individuals as they are hunting this vampire. And there's also like two different kinds of vampires. There's like the newly created vampires called like the American vampire versus like the old European vampires. And it's just really good. The art style is very brutal. It is a horror graphic novel, so it's pretty graphic, and of course it's Stephen King, so you know there's gonna be some stuff that is R-rated. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I am so excited to continue with the novel. Unlike Ladykiller, this is a finished graphic novel. I believe there's either 9 or 8 volumes. I want to like binge the entire series in like October, but we'll see if I can wait that long. I have a playlist for this one as well. Very like American Horror Story kind of vibe. So the next book I read was Hidden Blade by Pippa DaCosta. So we follow this guy named Ace Dante, which already is just should have just turned me off immediately. However, this is a Egyptian mythology placed book, and I had a lot of problems with it. So we follow Ace Dante, and he's like this soul eater who, you know, eats people's souls, and he's a slave to Orius, who is the god of the underworld. He's like the king of the gods. This book was just a mess. It's like 5 plot points, and it's only a 170-page book. I read it in just like one sitting, and it's just so scatterbrained, and the writing is just not good. And it takes place in modern like New York City, and the main character was saying that like the Egyptian gods and everybody from that period have like morphed and become like white. Like he was saying how Bast is like one of the only ones who has like still Egyptian features, and I was just like, so that's what we're doing? We're gonna whitewash Egyptian gods? I don't like that. But other than like that problematic bit, it was just too much. I feel like I was watching like all 6 seasons of Supernatural in like 170 pages, and it was just not good. There wasn't even any smut in it, and I was expecting smut, and I was really disappointed that even that couldn't have redeemed itself. This book's rating is a 3.8. I don't understand how it's a 3.8. Like, how is this book such highly rated? I didn't really give a good description of that book. I don't really want to. If you want to read it, you can look it up on Goodreads. You can look at the description. I don't advise it, but hey, you do you. I didn't create a playlist for this because I didn't want to, and that's that on that. This book. Again, if you saw my last reading vlog, you know my thoughts explicitly on this book. And that is City of Brass by S.A. Chakravorty. I would read Hidden Blade 100 times over reading this book one more time. The pacing is absolute trash. It was so slow in the beginning. Like the first half of the book, just skip it. If you want to read the book, just skip the first half of the book. Everything it explains to you in the first half of the book, you won't understand anyways because it's so confusing. So just skip it. Also, there's like a glossary in the back. So just read the glossary. Skip the first half. Read the second half if you really want to as soon as they get to the city. If you really want to read it there. Still don't advise it, but there you go. There's not a single character that you can root for in this book because everybody are racist assholes. Everybody is so racist. I don't understand, and I said this in my reading vlog, so if you want to get like the full scope of it, watch it, because I go into way more detail about it, but long story short, there are so many characters, or so many creatures in this damn book, and every single one of them are racist towards each other, and it's just annoying, and I hate it, and it's just pathetic and gross. There's a love triangle, and because of that, I couldn't like anybody, because I didn't like either of them. They're both racist assholes. One of them is a religious racist asshole, which is just so beautiful. I just love that so much. It's a terrible representation for Muslims. It's a terrible representation of just, again, go watch my reading vlog if you want to see the full rant, but I just hated it a lot. I didn't care about any of the characters, didn't care about the plot. It dragged on, hated it, don't like it, will not be continuing it. No. Didn't make a playlist for this. It does not deserve a playlist, okay? It doesn't deserve it at all. The next book I read was The Wicked and the Divine Volume 1 by Gillan. This book is weird. This basically takes place in a world where every 90 years, the gods from like all across cultures and everything come down onto Earth, and they're kind of resurrected, and this time around they have been resurrected as pop stars. And when I heard that, I was like, I'm down, I'm game, sign me up right now. And it's very weird. It's very weird. I feel like it's a bit underdeveloped. It's not the best. It's very confusing at times. Like, you're just bombarded with information without explanation. And like, the characters are still pretty interesting. Lucy is a female androgynous form of Lucifer, and love that. I definitely will pick up another volume, and if I don't like the second volume, I probably won't continue it. So I'm definitely interested in continuing it with it, but it was definitely strange, and the pacing was weird. It was a bit underdeveloped and like very confusing at times, but hopefully the other volumes kind of make up for it. And for that reason, I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. I don't have a playlist for this one just because I didn't really feel like it. So the next book I read was The Last Wish by andrzej. I still don't know how to say his first name. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna call him Andrzej Sapkowski. And this book is the prequel to the Witcher series. It is a short story compilation, and if you guys don't know, the Witcher series is one of my favorite game series of all time. I can safely say that I loved this book almost just as much. Like, it was absolutely so much fun to read this book, especially being one who's played the games and like envisioning everything in my head, because the games do such a good job at like creating his world visually, and it was so beautiful. The writing is very fast paced. It's very, very much dialogue based. Like, I would say a majority of this book is written via dialogue, which is very nice. I love that. One thing I wasn't expecting is there are a lot of like fairy tale kind of nuances in this book. If you like retellings, I feel like you would actually like this book, because I was noticing a lot of like tropes. Like, there was some Beauty and the Beast retelling-ish. There was like Snow White. It was very interesting to see like those fairy tale tropes in the short stories, because I definitely was not expecting that. Definitely continuing with the series. I need to pick up Sword of Destiny, and I probably will do that after I'm done with the A Fairy Tale-a-thon. And yeah, going to link you guys the original soundtrack to Witcher 3, because the Witcher 3 soundtrack is absolutely stunning. It is a masterpiece on its own. So I will be linking that down below in addition to my playlist, just because you have to. I have to link that down below because it's just so good. The last book I read was for Novel Serendipity's readathon, and that was Trial by Fire by Josephine Angelini. The book was definitely a surprising read for me. It went in a direction that I wasn't expecting it to go, because I did go into it blind. I knew that it was a witch-based story and it was based in Salem, Massachusetts, but I was thinking it was going to be like a Wicked Deep kind of thing. Boy was I wrong. Trial by Fire is about this girl named Lily. She is a very vulnerable person. She has terrible allergies. She is always sick all the time. She can barely leave her house. But all of a sudden she is called upon by this voice in her head, and she is taken to an alternate world that has the same people in her world, but they are completely different, and the way the world is run is just completely different. She's even got her like an alter ego of herself who is just a mess. And yeah, it was a very unique read. If you are tired of like the YA tropes and the YA like cliches, definitely pick this up, because it's a very unique story. The magic system is science-based, which I personally didn't enjoy, but that's just because I'm not a sciencey person. It has nothing to do with Angelini's writing style. The writing was fine. It's just because I wasn't connecting with the world building that I didn't connect much with the characters, and that's why I gave it a 2-star read. But again, that's no fault to Angelini. If you love science and you want to like break the mold and like get a refreshing read of a YA fantasy, definitely pick this up. And that is it for my January wrap up. I'm sorry it was kind of a bit scatterbrained. I have never done this before, so I don't exactly know the structure of how I want to do it, but I will link all of the playlists down below, along with like my rating, my star ratings and everything like that. Hope you guys enjoy the playlist. I hope it makes you kind of excited for my monthly wrap-ups. I know I love monthly wrap-ups. It's my favorite videos to watch, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye!